same, but on my toes. I could keep the world balanced on my nose. I had a slumber party.
Hi, Obi here. Today I wanted to talk to you about Tower of God, which is a Crunchyroll exclusive. It is a manhwa-based anime. What's nice about them is that they're often in color, unlike manga, and they're often shorter. The thing about Tower of God, which is a manhwa, is that it is not shorter. It's actually one of the longer manhwa that you can read. It's almost like the super series version of a manhwa. So, if we're going to talk about Tower of God, we need to talk about its studio. Studio Telecom Animation Film. Doesn't have a very good name. It is a subsidiary of Sega Sammy Holdings, which is a merger between Sammy Corporation and Sega, both of which were gaming companies, but they also own a massive anime branch, and that has a lot of anime. But the Telecom Animation Film Studio is a subpart, so we're looking at like a big little thing. This studio itself doesn't really have much under its belt. Tower of God is kind of its big play, if you ask me, and it's really cool. It's playing with Crunchyroll on that. So the show starts. The opening is a K-pop song. I absolutely adored it. Although the few people who were just on Crunchyroll hanging out and were like, oh, I'm gonna look at this anime with the new art style, they'd be like, why the hell is it K-pop? They'd be very confused, very confused. But I knew what I was getting myself into, and now y'all know what you're getting yourselves into. This episode, the first scene of the first episode, the opening moments are just beautiful. It's beautiful. I loved that. What came after I didn't care for. Basically, the first opening scene is our main character, Bam, chasing after Rachel, because he wants an explanation as to why she's leaving him behind to go into the tower. So the tower itself is the promise of the premise, and that is that those who reach the top of the tower are basically granted a wish. The issue with that is that I have doubts. So Bam is taken into the tower and he is greeted by
Hedon. この塔の管理人.
And let me just say, Hedon was giving me like sketchy vibes. And so Hedon tells him that in order to reach the top of the tower, he must undergo these challenges. And so your boy, Bam, is just like, screw it, let's go.
素晴らしい.
Some princess gives him a sword, and he beats the first test by essentially being willing to cast off the fear of death. And he was more than willing to cast off the fear of death if it meant that he could be with Rachel again, which is pretty rough. He accidentally stole the sword first and foremost. He wasn't supposed to take it with him, but he just kind of got whisked off without even his own knowledge or permission, so good old Hedon. He ends up in a field. A voice announces the contest has begun.
ルールは簡単。ここにいる選別者は全部で400人。その400人を制限時間内に200人に絞っちゃってください。
Your boy Bam is not a fighter. He ends up face to face with this lizard. And he meets Kun.
俺の名はクン。夜です。夜、黒の3月をどこで手に入れた？
They have a moment that is very BL. I did not expect that. Not that I mind it. So the second trial ends with there being 200 people left out of 400, so half were eliminated. And then out of the 200, they have to pair up into groups of 3s before a time limit. Rock is amazing, I love him. And then they go to the waiting room. In the waiting room, we meet
私は皆様の担当試験官レロローと申します。
He's called a ranker, and I have a lot of doubts because if the promise of the premise is that the top of the tower will give you all the knowledge of the world and any wish you want and all the power you could possibly dream of, why are the rankers just doing HR and management jobs in the tower? And so Lero, wanting to weed out the weaker contestants, he creates a barrier of this magic material called Shinsu. And basically anyone who can cross the barrier can continue to climb the tower.
僕なぜか跳ね飛ばされなくてごめんなさい今外に出ます
He's just standing there like, was that supposed to do something?
怪物が来たな。
And it's very clearly Bam. Lero sits with him and they chit-chat for a bit, and Bam asked about the irregulars. So I forgot to mention, the regulars are normal people who are born and raised in the tower, which is like their world, and then the irregulars are the ones who come from the outside. So he's literally not from this world. So in the third episode, we open with Kun's backstory, and basically, Kun's sister was up for the role of princess, keeping in mind that the princess was one of the people that Bam met early in the show. And she's the one who gave him the sword. Because his sister lost the competition or whatever, her and him and their whole family was exiled.
聞いたか姫の選抜じゃあアゲロ様はどうなる決まってんだろ実の姉が姫に選ばれなかったんだ
And he's got some regrets and some desires for retribution, probably. Hence his cold exterior.
前から引っかかってたんだけどさそのラヘルって子はなんで夜を置いて一人で塔に登ったんだろうなえそもそも夜をずっと世話してたのもなんか引っかかるっていうかおかしいっていうか
I like that Kun's already figuring out that Rachel's shady as hell. So the third test is a little bit strange, and basically it just stresses Kun the hell out, and we get to see him have like a meltdown. And Rock solves the puzzle because Rock is amazing. After the test that nearly breaks poor Kun, Lyra introduces a bonus round that essentially can make or break. You can win the whole game and go straight to the top of the tower, or you can just stay where you are and keep climbing like normal. Basically, the reason for that is that they ended up with a team that came in after the current batch that eliminated everybody in the previous test. That means that a single team with 3 people eliminated 397 people. And so they all pretty much go for the bonus test that could, you know, win them the whole game. Like if they're here, they're already, woo. Like if they're here, they're already willing to bargain their lives away. We see one of the stronger characters who have been throughout the couple episodes seen a couple times. We see her really kick ass in this episode. So her sword bears the same symbol as Bam's sword, which is called the Black March. And so I have this theory that there's all different colors. So in my theory, hers would be like the Green March, I guess. It's like a vine or something. And then there's this unholy trinity of moments that allude to the fact that one of those people who killed 397 people in the previous round
挑戦者が戦えない状態になってしまったので次のゲームを行います。
ラヘル
Talk about shady as hell, like expert murderer. At one point, Rock senses more powerful weapons coming from them, and I'm like, God, this bitch gonna have one of those damn marches, I bet. She gonna have the yellow one to go with her golden hair, because she's a blonde beauty or whatever the f. So overall, this show had some things I liked and some things I didn't like. And the art style is kind of strange at first. Over the 3 episodes, I definitely grew to be more okay with it, to even appreciate it a little bit. I don't like that the world is so vague. Not just the rules, but like the whole world. Like it doesn't, since it is never fully explained, there's an openness for whatever goes. I also think that Rock is too good for this world, and I don't think he's gonna make it to the end, and that's really disappointing. That's something I'm not happy about. It's something I don't want to see. I could be wrong. I could be very wrong about that. He could win. He could win more than anybody else. I don't know, but I get the feeling he ain't gonna make it because he's too pure. So that's very upsetting. Definitely get very Alexander the Great kind of vibes from him. Iskandar. I think the appeal for it is in the twisted intrigue, the kind of Alice in Wonderland feeling of just chaos, trying to find little bits of order even though the world is complete nonsense. Don't you want to watch it now? Don't you want to watch the whole show? Crunchyroll exclusive. Call your friends. Ask if they have Crunchyroll. I do want to support this simply because it is a manhwa that became an anime, and I want to see more of those. Quick plug, this is my friend's makeup line. She has a store on Etsy, and I will link to it down below and in the end card. But yeah. That's it. That's all I got. That's the whole thing. Catch me out here trying to fix these lights. Rachel just shady. I just sense it. I would like to pre-apologize that if I'm right and I have good instincts that you just don't listen to me. Coon's half the damn reason I watch the show.